Every Dracula has an energy they project into the world. Jack Palance projects rough and rugged military experience. Judd Hirsch projects vaudeville classics. Jordy Johnson hits that Silicon Valley tech bro energy to a T. For my part, if I had to describe the energy I want to project as Dracula, I'd probably say that I'm going for big himbo energy. Frank A. Langella Jr. was born in 1938 in Bayonne, New Jersey. The son of Frank A. Langella Sr., the president of the Bayonne Barrel and Drum Company, and his wife Angelina, Frank grew up and attended most of his early schooling in Bayonne until the family moved to South Orange, where he completed his high school education. Langella went on to study drama at Syracuse University, graduating with a B.A. in 1959. He paid his dues in regional theater companies and theater festivals, making his way onto the off-Broadway stage in 1963 in The Immortalist, and debuting on Broadway in Federico Garcia Lorca's Yerma in 1966. His television debut came in 1965 with a guest role in The Trials of O'Brien, followed by appearances in the NBC Experiment in Television and the NET Playhouse. He made the leap into film in 1970, appearing as George Prager in Diary of a Mad Housewife, and co-starring with Santa Claus Advent Calendar alum Ron Moody in Mel Brooks's second feature film, The 12 Chairs. Mad Housewife won him the Golden Laurel Award for Star of Tomorrow and the Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer, while the National Board of Review would give him a Best Supporting Actor award for both roles combined. His first Tony Award came for Edward Albee's Seascape in 1975, and he would be nominated again in 1977 for his role in the Broadway production of Dracula. This led directly to his being offered the role in John Badham's 1979 film of Dracula. Initially, Langella was concerned about typecasting if he took on the role for film, but he ultimately agreed and starred in the production alongside Sir Laurence Olivier and Donald Pleasance. Many actors flush with success from such a prominent role have shifted their focus entirely to film, but Langella's career suggests that he has always pursued acting as a whole rather than placing one medium above another. He has worked steadily on stage, in film, and on television to the present day, and his career has been frequently lauded. He won a second Tony for his performance in 2002's Fortune's Fool, a third for his portrayal of Richard Nixon in Frost Nixon, and a fourth for 2016's production of Florian Zeller's The Father. In 2009, he was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor for the film adaptation of Frost Nixon. And in 2021, he shared the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by a Cast for Aaron Sorkin's The Trial of the Chicago 7. But if there's one role that Langella has consistently singled out as his favorite experience in film, it is Skeletor in 1987's Masters of the Universe, which he took without question when it was offered because his 4-year-old son was a huge fan of He-Man.
There's pain in my head, and it runs down here into my neck.
I can remove this pain.
Yes, and so can I. Swaves, get my back.
Such pains yield readily to suggestion.
If you mean hypnotism, she'd be better off having the pain.
Why?
I suspect Mr. Harker thinks of some ugly waving of arms. That is not my method.
I would love to tell you about the Broadway production that led to Frank Langella's casting in the film adaptation. But I'm not an expert on Broadway. But I do have one via Zoom. See, with everything that's going on, we have to take precautions, for safety.
Right. For COVID.
Yes, for COVID.
Wait, am I the expert?
Yeah, it says so right on the screen.
Well, you know about as much as I do.
Yes, but which one of us has had a script produced off-Broadway?
Technically, off Broadway.
And didn't you host a weekly stream about musicals for a while?
Co-hosted with you.
Yeah, but you still have more experience, so tell us a little bit about Dracula on Broadway.
Well, sure. Why not? Dracula has a long history on Broadway, starting with Hamilton Dean's script, the first authorized adaptation of the novel. It debuted on the British stage in 1924 with approval and licensure from the Lord Chamberlain, who demanded changes to censor some of the more violent scenes. Dean himself would play Van Helsing, and the show toured England for 3 years before beginning a long run in London. But in 1927, producer Horace Liveright bought the rights to perform the show on Broadway. Revisions were made to the script and were made by John L. Balderston, who compressed the story and reduced the necessary cast by combining or removing characters completely. The Broadway production was a massive critical and financial success, and helped to launch Bela Lugosi into the public eye. By 1973, the show had many regional and community theater restagings, but had not returned to Broadway. Producer John Wolpe staged the play in Massachusetts with the Nantucket Stage Company, and commissioned set and costume designs from Edward Gorey. Gorey was famous for his cartoon work, but had never before designed for the stage. He turned in a design that was mostly black and white, but accented with touches of red. The result was an Edward Gorey drawing brought to life, fully realized in 3 dimensions as a real-world place and time, but still with that distinctive Gorey look. Lloyd Battista played the role of Dracula in Nantucket and continued the role when the production moved to the Cherry Lane Theater, an off-Broadway house that has also been the home of Fortune's Fool, starring Frank Langella, Nonsense, True West, Zoo Story, and Stephen Schwartz's Godspell. The success of Dracula off-Broadway caught the eye of producer Eugene Wolsk, who decided to revive Hamilton Dean's script on Broadway. He co-produced the show with John Wolpe, and they used the same Edward Gorey designs that had been seen in Nantucket and the Cherry Lane Theater production. And they opened the show in October of 1977 at the Martin Beck Theater, starring Frank Langella. The show won 2 Tony Awards, one for Most Innovative Production of a Revival, and the second for Edward Gorey for Best Costume Design. The show would run for 925 performances, closing in January of 1980. When Frank Langella left the cast, he would be replaced by Puerto Rican actor Raul Julia. Fresh off of a Tony-nominated run on Broadway as Mac the Knife in the Threepenny Opera, and an appearance in the 1976 film The Gumball Rally. Sadly, no film or video is readily available of this production of Dracula, either with Langella or Julia in the lead role. It is a reality that a lot of Broadway fans have to deal with. that many, many, many productions with iconic casts and legendary influential designs are only available to the broader public in the form of still pictures. Recently, we've seen streaming services adopt the idea of bringing live theater to the people, with Hamilton on Disney Plus, Passover on Amazon Prime, American Utopia on HBO Max, and Come From Away on Apple TV Plus. But over the years, professional live theater in America has largely relied on the educational network and its successor, PBS, to find its way into many homes. That's how I saw theater. And that's why I majored in theater, because I would watch great performances on Saturday mornings.
And what do you think of Langella's performance?
Well, do you want me to drop into the comments and let you know?
No, you're on camera. You can go right ahead.
Well, from a female perspective, I would just like to say I think Frank Langella's dreamy. He is definitely the Dracula that I have fallen in love with. I think the 1979 film production of Dracula starring Frank Langella is one of my favorites that I have been watching alongside your countdown of Dracula, because Dracula is really the first romantic lead that I've seen in this. I think that the analysis that he is a gentleman's gentleman and something that a lady would particularly enjoy is something that we haven't seen. This is why I really appreciate having kind of almost the female lens or the female view upon Dracula in this perspective, and I think that it's not something we have seen in a lot of takes on Dracula. Quite frankly, it's a very masculine and aggressive character, and even when he is suave and debonair, it is still very a masculine interpretation, relying upon power and wealth and strength. And I think that Langella really has this softer quality that makes him heroic and makes him somebody that you could fall in love with. And that is one of my favorite things about this movie. And I am so glad that you are doing a take on it. So what do I do with this whole, I don't know, guest star thing? Do I get to become Dracula?
Honestly, I don't know. You're the first guest star I've had on the series, so I only know that I've been transforming myself.
Oh. Well, bet!
And she said she's not an expert.
You take the dawn for granted. The warm, hot sunlight. But the night
Was made to enjoy.
Yes. Yes, it was. It was made to enjoy life.
Hamilton Dean's stage script had served as the source material for 1931's Dracula from Universal Studios. And when Universal decided it was time for a fresh take on the story in the late 70s, they started once more from Dean's script. The decision may have been influenced by the success of the off-Broadway and Broadway revival, but the film production did not bring in Edward Gorey's designs, instead opting for a more lush and naturalistic look. Among other changes, the movie also switches the names of Mina and Lucy, although director John Badham has said that he can't quite remember why that decision was made. He does, however, seem to remember some discussion with screenwriter W.D. Richter regarding Mina being, quote, a dopey name. Badham was able to secure Langella for the lead role after making two promises. One, that there would be no scenes showing Dracula with blood-dripping fangs. And two, that he would not be required to do any commercial performances or appearances in character as Dracula.
Gentlemen, how kind of you to call.
I have underestimated your powers, Count Dracula, to move about in daylight hours.
It is always daylight somewhere on Earth, Professor.
Frank Langella has said that he set out in this production to be a very different Dracula from Bela Lugosi or Christopher Lee. In multiple interviews and appearances, he has put forth that Dracula is a true gentleman who is cursed with the need to drink blood to live, but also sees himself as offering immortality to those he chooses, and that the true evil in the movie is represented not by Dracula, but by those who would destroy Dracula because they don't understand him. Indeed, you can see this dynamic at work as Langella shows us a Dracula who truly connects with the women among the characters, and whose attentive and sensitive conversations with them stands in stark contrast to the emotional and, at times, physical violence they face from the so-called good men in their lives. This is probably the first non-comedy Dracula of the list to truly make you want Dracula to win, because seriously, screw Van Helsing, he's kind of a jerk. Critical response to 1979's Dracula was mixed. Roger Ebert praised it, calling it an elegantly seen Dracula that was all shadows and blood and vapors, and Frank Langella stalking through with the grace of a cat. But Leonard Maltin called it murky, and said that Langella's performance was sabotaged by trendy horror gimmicks. But it would only perform modestly at the box office. On a budget of $12.2 million, it earned $31.2 million worldwide. There are many possible reasons, but it can't have helped matters that this Dracula was one of 3 that opened in theaters in the same year, as 1979 also saw the release of Werner Herzog's remake of Nosferatu and George Hamilton's Love at First Bite. So what do you think of Frank Langella's performance in 1979's Dracula? Make sure you drop down into the comments below and leave a few of your thoughts. While you're down there, there's also buttons there for like and subscribe. There's the bell that you can ring in order to get notifications. You know, the whole thing already. I've said it like a million times. Until next time, I am Glen Williams, the film optimist, reminding you to watch like it means something.